This is about the Jmix migration, and here in this video what we are going to focus on is replicating the first UI in the new Vaadin 24 version. So let's take a look on which one I choose, which is, if you go here to products, then you can see there's like this group table, and then when you click on one of those products, you can see there are different tabs here describing different things, prices for the product and the stock items. And then within a price, when you create it, there's also something which is quite dynamic here. So there's a euro as a currency set up globally for this application. This is then shown here. So this is what we are going to do. So let's take a look on how to create that. So if we go here to our new empty application, you can see I will actually open up the product entity here. And since we in the last video just cut out everything that is not compiling or creating any problems, we are now having a good state to work iteratively and create our first working UI again. Okay, so I will go ahead, and in this case, since it's just more or less a generic CRUD screen, I basically will generate that here from via Jmix Studio. I will go with an entity list and detail view, and then we can just keep this package name, application menu item is fine. All of this stuff is actually fine. So compared to Jmix 1, there are like slight differences from the naming, just because now everything is called view instead of screen. But besides that, it should be what you have seen before. Another relevant thing is that when you the table type, as it's called here, you can only select either data grid or tree data grid, but you cannot select the group table anymore. So this is one thing that got removed in Vaadin 24, and there are some plans to reintroduce it via from Jmix itself, but generally this table component is not present anymore. Good. So this means we will keep it like this, and then we have the view fetch plan, which in this case we will just go for the category, and in the detail plan we will go with prices and with stock items to have everything available there. All right, and then we have products and like the translations. I think this is all just looks quite good. So now if we take a look here, there are like slight differences, and for that actually let me just go through each of them. So I will go with product browse, and then I will copy it over, and then you can compare it side by side. So the first thing that you can see here is that this window tag and namespace is not now gone. It's called view. Besides that, there are like slight differences here regarding the data container. Let's take a look. So here we have one interesting thing. So I already started the application, so I should be able to display it. Let's take a look. So if we go here to products now, then you can see that there are already a couple of products in. If we and we have the regular search mechanism that comes out of the box with Jmix. So if we, for example, say if the name contains foo, then you can see that in the URL parameters, actually the conditions are reflected of this filter component. And this is actually relevant because in Jmix 2, it's actually possible to simply use the regular refresh mechanisms from the browser. So if I click this one, then it will go and actually refresh the page, and not as it was in Vaadin 8, where it's actually holding some state, and the refresh button didn't really brought any additional value. But since this is the case, we also somehow need to store some state in the URL params. This is why this is actually implemented here. And when we go back to this, you can see that this is reflected in the UL query parameters. You can define various components within it that should be either automatically or manually added to this state, so that you can basically then transfer it when a page refresh comes. Besides that, there are like slight differences when it comes to those lookup actions and so on. This is like now just declared in this type. And then we have the filter component. Now it's called generic filter, but it's like generally speaking the same mechanism, except for this URL query parameters logic. And then let's take a look. So previously we had a group table, and now we have with actions and columns and buttons. Here it's slightly changed. So we just have a plain HBox component which holds all of the buttons, and then it underneath references this data grid, and in particular the actions here of the data grid. And besides that, there's a difference here in that this column ID was actually referencing the attribute name, and here in Vaadin 24 or Jmix 2, it's actually called property, to reference that it's actually a property of the entity that we are referencing here. So generally speaking, looks quite similar. If we would look to the product detail view, like this class here as well, so they're not big differences. The annotations changed slightly, but yeah, and the superclass also changed, right? So that it's not standard screen, or however it was called previously. Let's take a look. It was called product browse. So it was a standard lookup of type product, and in the new version it's just like a different class that we extend from. And yeah, this is mainly it here. This is really something not very specific. Okay, so then I think we can actually go a little bit implementing some additional things, because in this product detail view, if we open it up, then and go here and call edit, then you can see right now it's actually quite different. So what I will do now is go ahead here and go to the product edit, and then basically copy over those this tab sheet, and then we can see what we need to adjust. So first of all, you can see here we have now a form layout, and then we have an H4 header, and then like another button, and so on and so forth. So let me just first put this one in here. The tab sheet component still exists, and is behaving very similarly. There are slight differences. For example, this caption is now called, let's just double check, I think it's called label. Okay, so let's go with that. And after having that, we can get rid of those attributes that are not actually possible anymore. Okay, so this already looks good. And then we have a slight difference. So this table component I will just completely get rid of, and here as well, because there were generated new data grids automatically. So I will just take over those. So when we go here to prices, we can actually take everything that was there for the prices and put them in the corresponding tag. And then there's some change here that like an error message saying that a tab component cannot hold more than 2 subcomponents. So this means if we have a situation like this, where we have like a header and another box and another data grid, we actually need to put that into like one parent component. So in this case it would be like an HBox, for example, like this. So then this problem should go away. And let's do the same thing here for the stock items. All right, and then there's like one other change, which is that those IDs are now marked as needing to be the same. Cannot be the same anymore, right? So it says there's a duplicated ID. We can just fix that manually by saying this would be the prices buttons panel, and we'll do the same for the IDs of the actions. So let's do like this, and then we just prices exactly. So okay, and here we'll do the same. So this will be then stock items buttons panel. And here we have stock items, create, edit, and remove. All right. So with that, our tab sheet in general seems to be done. Let's take a closer look. So previously we had a form component here with those fields and so on, and when we look at what was generated, it's this form layout component. So let's just take that from here and replace it with this new variant. So now it's called form layout, and in general it seems looks very, very similar. In this case, it generated a text area which was in this other tab. If you look at it, it's slightly here just generated a different height, but in general it seems to be the same. So we can also make it 100%, and then I will just basically copy over this data container reference, and this is because it's not in a form layout anymore. So this is why we have to explicitly reference it. Okay, so if we now take a look at the resulting UI, and here just once again I can just hit refresh and it will actually refresh, right? So from the developer experience, this is actually quite good, because you don't have to click on those on the menus again and navigate to it because of the internal state of Vaadin 8. Instead, just hitting refresh works as in any other regular web application. Okay, so we have like slight problem with the layouting here, that it's not very like as we used to have it. So let's just take a look if we make it 100%. Okay, so now it looks already better, but there's one interesting thing here on the description side. So let's take a look. I think we can, so perhaps we go with the height that was automatically generated, and let's double check if it had something to do with that. Yeah, so the reason why it's now smaller is that we just say it's 100% based on the tab sheet component, since we didn't specify, if I understand correctly, the height of the tab sheet. This is where it actually, then it will derive its height from. So since now the tab sheet is 100%, and then the description actually now also gets 100%. Okay, so with that we are, a little bit closer on how it used to look like. And one important thing is that you can see in the form layout, it's by default taking up 2 columns, and this is actually already different when you have different screen sizes. So it will actually, so we can go here and say inspect, let's see, and then go here to emulating like an iPhone or whatever. And what you can see here is now, first of all, the general appearance of the tab sheet changes, but then also it changes based on the screen size. So if let me just do like this, then you can see it more easily. It will actually change, and after a particular point in time, it will actually swap to a 2-column grid. At some point, it will show the menu again, and so on and so forth. So this is like fully responsive when it comes out of Jmix or out of Vaadin 24. Okay, and I think with that we can get rid of the emulation here. And so, the last thing that we now need is this price detailed screen. So let me just quickly generate that as well. So if we go here to product price, then we can generate a new detail view. And here the settings are fine. We can just leave it like this. If we look at the source code from the original one, so this was this product price edit, then you can see that there were like a couple of things done when it comes to this this currency. And so first of all, we just create a money class, which is this default price, because it's like a nested or like an embedded entity, if I recall correctly. So this is this set price, and this is of type money, and you can see here it's like an embedded entity which is just holding the amount and the currency. And if we, so then we, first of all, we create a default price, and afterwards we set the current price based on what is configured in this rent your stuff properties, which is, this Java class that holds the currency. When we look at the application properties, you can see that this is actually the corresponding setting here. So let's try to mirror that. If we, for now, just take over everything and see how it behaves. So this is product price detail view, and okay, so let's get rid of what we don't have available anymore. So the on-init entity, this event is the same, right? So that's still possible to do like this. And let me just quickly see why we don't have the data context. And you can see actually the difference. Previously it was called auto-wired as any dependency that you would inject into your controller. And with Vaadin 24, it was actually changed. So the differentiation now here is you still have auto-wired, and this is for all Spring Beans. And then for all components that are actually have a representation in the XML, for example, this data context is basically just this tag, so to say, they are referenced by this view component annotation. Okay, so with that out of the way, we have now the data context. We can create the money object, and we can also take this set the currency and then set the price with this currency. And what was done here is that let's just remove that, instead take a first look in which handlers we have available. So this on after show is still there, but it's now called a ready event, trying to explain more that at this point everything is ready, like all the data containers are loaded, the screen is able to start up, and we can now take this one here. And so what you can see here is that we are setting this currency on this field, and this field was literally a currency field, and in Jmix 2 this is not available anymore. So instead what we have to do is, let's first of all inject our field, and this would be for the price amount, I think. So let's double check. So here, when generated, it actually generated two things, right? So it's like a select option for the price currency, and this is what we can get rid of. And then we have a text field for this price amount field. And if we go here, then this is on every, basically on every text component, you can have a suffix component that you define. So let's try to do that. We say set suffix component, and then I will just create, like a span tag or whatever. So this we can inject UI components, create span class. We can then make that the suffix component, and for this currency we can say set text, and this will be then basically how we did it before. Just messages, get message, and then put the corresponding value of this edited entity and the currency that we set here initially. So let's take a look on how this looks. Now if we create a price, okay, so there seems to be something wrong with the hot reloading, I think. Let's just restart the app. Okay, interesting. Let me just quickly find out what this is about. Product price detail view and product view product price. Okay, so it might be product price detail view. So this is this one, and then we have another one under. Okay, so I would assume it's actually, just situation that it actually holds something in the previous version, because I'd already tried out what I now showed you before. So this is why I have recreated the screens already before. Okay, so now it's starting up again. It's, since I now killed all the cached directories, it's actually building the front-end bundle again. So this might take a couple of seconds. But once this is done, then we can take a look at the corresponding result in the UI. Okay, so let's log in, go to products, and then we go to prices and create a price. And now you can see here the suffix component is basically, just inlined in this text field. And this is just a mechanism of Vaadin 24. And now I can basically say it's 10, and the euro we set already internally, and then we say, per day, and then, it correspondingly updates, the product. Okay, and with that we are almost done. The only thing left is this stock items. I will not show that here because it's just a generic CRUD screen, but instead focus on the next video what we will do there, and this is mainly rebuilding the first UI integration test that we have had previously on this product price pages. I think with that we covered a little bit and explained a little bit how Vaadin 24 fundamentally is different, not source code wise necessarily, but at least, from the user behavior and so on and so forth. All right, then thank you very much for watching, and then see you in the next video.